Hey, I'm John. Welcome to Word, the video series exploring the Holy Bible, one chapter and one day at a time. Today's chapter is Genesis 35, containing 29 verses. Here we see Jacob moving to Bethel with his household, God again affirming his promise and new name to Israel, the death of Rachel, the birth of Benjamin, and the death of Isaac at a ripe old age. Genesis 35 starts out with Jacob's counter move to the atrocities that happened to his family and by the hands of his sons. A godless attitude has permeated the patriarch's camp, and the Lord tells him to go to the place where Jacob first encountered God. As a response, Jacob wants to purge his household of all the idols and trinkets that has been stored up with them since they have left Padan Aram, and buries all the junk at Shechem. In verse 3, Jacob shows where his heart is at. We are now going to Bethel, where I will build an altar to the God who answered my prayers when I was in distress. He has been with me wherever I've gone. Here Jacob is acknowledging that he has seen the hand of God throughout his life, and testifies to his large family that God is faithful and in control. In Bethel, Jacob builds a new altar to honor the Lord. The text interjects that this is the place where Rachel's nurse since infancy dies. Then God blesses Jacob at the place of his pillow rock and reaffirms his promise through Jacob and the new name Israel. In verses 11, the Lord tells Jacob he is the Almighty One. Then God said, I am El-Shaddai, God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. You will become a great nation, even many nations. Kings will be among your descendants. God Almighty is how the Lord appeared to Abraham before the conception of Isaac, and how Isaac put God's blessing on Jacob on his travels before leaving home to escape the wrath of Esau. God is who he says he is. Time doesn't change that. His promise stays the same to Jacob as it did to Abraham. Rachel is pregnant and about to deliver when the family is on the move again. There are complications, however, and Rachel gives up her life in the delivery in verses 18 and 19. Rachel was about to die, but with her last breath, she named the baby Ben-oni, which means son of my sorrow. The baby's father, however, called him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. An era is over in Jacob's life. The wife is so desired is gone, and he is left with one treasured reminder of her in Benjamin, now his youngest. His oldest son goes in the other direction and betrays his father by sleeping with his first slave wife Bilhah, the mother of Reuben's half-brothers Dan and Naphtali. Noting, because of her inferior status, Bilhah may not have had a say in the matter. Hard to tell. The text says Jacob found out, but not how he took it. Needless to say, several relationships in that family will never be the same. And we can now see how inter-family hostility and dysfunction is growing out of control. Someone has completely missed the mark in this faith journey. We then get a short description of all the sons of Jacob, sorted by which wife they belong to, before the clan goes to visit Isaac before his death in verses 28 to 29. Isaac lived for 180 years. Then he breathed his last and died at a ripe old age, joining his ancestors in death, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. Isaac dies, the only one of the patriarchs that does not change his name. No need, God named him when he was promised to Abram and Sarah. He was a man of only one wife, and it represents how the ideal is. He was not without family troubles, but avoided many of the major marital issues and other family matters that both his father and sons encounters in their lives. It wasn't a problem-free existence by no means, but the problems seemed to increase exponentially the larger and the more complicated the family dynamics get. Then we take a little detour as we get to see what happened to Esau and his family in Genesis chapter 36. That's next time. Until then, Word.